Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here today to talk about natural hair care. And yes, this is one of those videos I usually try to do an update of at least once a year. That and my skincare. So if you're interested in my latest skincare video, I did one specifically on winter skincare. I'll go ahead and link to that video down below. Now basically what I do has stayed the same for many years, but sometimes there's things I forget to mention that I would like to cover, as well as making sure new people know when they come in how it is I take care of my hair. So let's start with how to cleanse your hair. So if you're trying to get away from the store-bought shampoos and conditioners, there's several different options you can go with for your own personal care. And it's going to depend on a few factors. One, of course, being the type of hair that you have. Is it dry? Is it oily? Is it curly? Is it straight? So you have to just find what's going to work best for you. So mostly what I'm going to be talking about is what I do and then how I made the change. So when I first decided to say that's it, I'm not going to do store-bought shampoos and conditioners anymore, I got to looking into this, and I don't remember how many years ago now it was, and I had read about people doing the baking soda wash and then the vinegar rinse, and I thought, well, that's interesting and very cheap. And of course at the time I hadn't yet delved into making my own vinegar. So I ran out and bought some apple cider vinegar, and then of course baking soda is something that we always have on hand, and decided I would give it a try. And while it was initially okay, and my hair definitely did get clean enough, because I have very curly, very dry hair, I found that it made my hair very brittle and even more flyaway than it usually is, which, by the way, is why I have it tied back today, because it's one of those days that I was going to wear my hair down for this video, but since it decided to blow up today, I decided to go ahead and pull it back. But you can see many of my other videos where my hair is down and get an idea. And it's different every day, just like anyone else's hair. So I decided back then that obviously one of the things, either the vinegar is too harsh or the baking soda is too harsh. I had assumed wrongly at the time that it was the vinegar, because we think of vinegar, it's acidic, it's got to be the vinegar that's causing my hair to fall out more and making it so dry. Nope, it wasn't the vinegar. In fact, vinegar is often considered a natural hair conditioner, and that's why it's often used as a hair rinse. And it took me a lot of looking and trying to find like real people talking about using this method until I finally found some people that had discovered it was the baking soda that was causing issues with their hair. Now, if you have pretty oily skin and hair, then yes, I recommend giving the baking soda method a try. But if your hair is very dry, especially if it's very curly and dry, generally speaking, the curlier your hair is, the drier it is. And the straighter it is, the more oily it is. But that's not always the case. I understand people can have straight hair and have it also be very dry. But that's just kind of a general rule of thumb. And usually curly hair can also be more fragile. So I personally don't recommend it if your hair is very curly, but you should know whether your hair is very dry anyway. And but if you want to give it a try at least once and just see how your hair reacts, you know, I say go for it, but just pay close attention and be careful with it. But again, oily hair should do pretty good with the baking soda method. Then what I decided to do was I nixed the baking soda and just started using vinegar only. And then it was very shortly after that I got into making my own vinegar, and then started using flowers and herbs from my garden that I knew were really good for the hair, and using that to make my own vinegar. That's what this red vinegar is. I'll make this when my roses and lavender and all that stuff is blooming. Nasturtium's another excellent one to add to your vinegar. And I'll use this a lot of times just for washing my hair with. And I did that for quite a while, just using the vinegar, and found it did really good. It didn't strip my hair or dry it out, and my hair responded a lot better going with just the vinegar. So then the next thing I decided I wanted to delve into was just creating my own shampoo recipe. I didn't look up any recipes. I didn't do anything like that. I figured I was just going to create my own. And by that time, I had already started making my own homemade soap. Now, one method before I talk about this that you can look into if you don't make your own homemade soap is you can try the Castile soap. So Dr. Bronner's is a popular brand, but some people like to steer away from them for understandable reasons. Another one you can look into is the Vitacost brand. So Vitacost is a really good place, by the way, a lot of times to find herbs, spices, supplements, and just some natural skin and hair care products. And so you can check that out. I'll put a link to Vitacost. I'm not an affiliate with them in any way, but you can still check them out. That's for a lot of people, that's a place they would prefer to shop over Amazon. I've been using the Dr. Bronner soap in several different types, you know, the peppermint, the lavender, the tea tree. Our favorite is really the peppermint. I've been using it actually for many years off and on. When I first heard of it, probably 30 years ago was when I first started using it. And you can use that very, very diluted as a shampoo if you want. Personally, for me, I found I didn't like the texture it left in my hair. It got it clean enough, and it didn't dry it out badly. It just left a very odd texture. I've tried it off and on through the years, and every time, because that's what Patrick uses. He uses the peppermint Dr. Bronner soap diluted in water. I always have a bottle ready to go for him, and that's what he uses, and he's cool with it. But for me, I decided it just wasn't the best thing. So since I started making my own homemade soap by that point, I decided I was gonna come up with my own recipe. So I do have a couple of different homemade shampoo recipes that I'll link to my most current one, just because I think it's more interesting and maybe a little more easy to follow, because of I talk about various different kind of herbs. It is an herbal shampoo specifically that you can use. You can use one herb, you can use all the herbs, whatever, any combination you want. So that's why I'm going to link to that one. But just know, in that one I used copper. I used some homemade colloidal copper in that shampoo as well, because copper is good for the hair. And you don't have to use the homemade colloidal copper or any colloidal copper. You can just substitute that with just plain water. That's just that newest recipe I had come up with and wanted to try. But really all you need is some good healthy soap, whether it be homemade, some that you buy from a friend, or something you found online somewhere is your favorite, all natural soap, just a bar of that, and some water and some herbs to just give it more boost that can be healthy for your hair. So what I have right here is the last little bit of the batch I made last time, and so I'm really low and I need to get some more made up, so I'm going to be doing that soon. And this I only use maybe once a week to wash my hair. The rest of the time I wash with just vinegar. And though how I do both of these actually with the shampoo, because you have to know that when you do make your own homemade shampoo, even if you're using the Dr. Bronner's or another type of Castile soap, is it doesn't lather up the same way that the shampoos you buy at the store do, because they have additives in them to make them do that. So naturally soap doesn't lather up like that in its liquid form, and you either need a foaming dispenser or you need some added ingredients, and sometimes those added ingredients aren't even healthy to use anyway. So what I do when I'm using either this or the vinegar is I have like a little 8-ounce, I didn't even bring it in here because the thing is so beat up. Look at it, it's not even pretty, but it's just, I intentionally bought this little bottle, 8-ounce bottle of dish soap, just so I could have this little squeeze bottle for using for these things. And so what I do is I put a little bit, just a little squirt of the my homemade shampoo. I only need a little bit into that bottle. Then I top it off with water and shake it up really good, and then I just squirt it through my hair. Now, if your hair is short, it's actually probably just as easy or easier just to use the bar soap straight. So I'd use the bar soap straight on my hair like this if I'm only trying to work it into my scalp and not run it through my whole hair. So using it in this form is a lot easier if your hair is long, thick, and curly, especially if it's all three of those. But again, just using a good bar soap, and some people think you have to have some special soap made just for the hair. Well, you know, I look at, when it comes to that, yeah, I do prefer using soap that I've made out of hemp seed or flaxseed, but I would just as easily use the coconut oil soap or the lard-based soap. I just try to stick to something I know, because of the dryness of my hair, that's going to be more gentle, on my hair and my skin. So that's why I like using the, I don't remember which one this is. I think this one's the hemp seed oil soap. And then I do the same thing with the vinegar. So after, when I go to do the vinegar rinse, I rinse out that little bottle. I do the same thing. I'll put in maybe about an ounce of the vinegar, and then, or two, and then I'll top that off with water in my little 8-ounce bottle, and then just squirt it through my hair like that. And in both cases, I leave the shampoo on for a minute or two, and then same thing with the vinegar. I'll leave it on for a couple minutes before I rinse it out. Now let me talk about a few other things, and this was one of the things I definitely wanted to update people on, and that is on the homemade hair growth oil treatment that I came up with. This is my own recipe, and this is actually my newest recipe right here that I did do a video on, which I'll link to down below. And one of the things I keep forgetting to talk about is, when do you wash the oil out? As dry as my skin and hair are, it's always been, for me, any kind of oils has always been a leave-in treatment. So when I go to use this, it's going to be right after I wash my hair. I'm going to put a little dollop of it in my hand and work it through my scalp. And sometimes I'll work any excess through the ends of my hair, just because it's oil, it's good for the hair. And it doesn't get washed out until the next time I shower and wash my hair. And so it is to me, it is a leave-in treatment. Now, if you have really oily skin and hair, it might be something you'll want to put on in the evening, and then in the morning wash it out. Now, some other ideas for conditioning your hair that I almost never use anymore, though back in the day when I was buying store-bought, I always condition my hair. I could not shampoo my hair without following it up with a conditioner and then a leave-in treatment on top of that, because how dry my hair is. But since going with these natural methods, I've been able to skip the conditioner other than just the vinegar rinse, and this could be counted as a conditioner, but that's not what it's for. It's for my scalp. But if you feel like you still need some kind of extra something added to your hair, especially as a leave-in treatment, doing something as simple as just a little dollop of coconut oil, especially if your hair's curly, just take a little bit of coconut oil, maybe just like a 1/4 teaspoon to a teaspoon, rub it into the palms of your hands, and until it melts, and then just work it through the ends of your hair. And I used to do that with olive oil years ago, but I don't even do that anymore. But I could have done that today just because my hair was a little more flyaway today than normal, but I just didn't bother. Sometimes on a rare occasion I'll do that if it really needs that. But since I don't wash my hair every single day, I just don't bother putting the oil in there. And then there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about, and then one is the homemade hairspray. Now, hairspray is something I very rarely use. Sometimes when I pull my hair back, when I twist it back into a bun, sometimes I will put a little hairspray in there, because I've always got these new little hairs coming in, or those wiry gray hairs that want to stick out. And having that little bit of hairspray is kind of nice to spray on there to hold everything in place. And yes, I make my own hairspray. It's super easy and super cheap to make your own. No, I do not sell it. I used to, but when I was doing that, I tried to stick to only locally, because it costs as much to ship it as it does if I'm going to sell it in a bottle like this. So it's really kind of not worth it to you when it's super easy to make your own. So I have a couple different recipes out there. I will link to my newest one down below so you can check out how to make your own hairspray. And the great thing about it is you can tailor it to suit you. If you want just a very light hold, you can make it a light hold. And if you wanted a heavier, stronger hold, you can make it heavier and stronger to suit you. So just check that video out so you can see how to do it. Again, easy, natural, and it's going to be so much healthier for you than the store-bought hairspray. And then one more thing I haven't covered yet, that I don't remember at least in my hair care videos I've done in the past, is the bentonite clay. So right here is a bag. I need to top off my jar here of bentonite clay. I've got an unopened bag here of bentonite clay. There's two different types you can get, and I will link down below to the video I did specifically just on bentonite clay and the two different kinds there are and how you can use them, but either one will be good. So one way you can use the bentonite clay on your hair is to make a mask. I also have a video out there somewhere, I don't know how old my newest one is, it's at least a couple years old by now, on how to make your own clay mask using bentonite clay and a few other ingredients. and it can be used on your face, and it can also be used on your hair. And I haven't done this one in a long time, but this is going to be something that's going to be beneficial to your hair, whether your hair is very dry or very oily. And one thing about the bentonite clay that's great is it's going to also help pull the toxins out of your scalp and out of your hair. And I found that it also softens my hair when I use it. And I really need to do this again because it's been a long time since I've done it. But you just make your clay. You might want to water it down a little bit when you make that mask, just to make it easier to spread through your scalp and through your hair, and you can work it all the way through to the ends. And that's something I recommend you do about 10 to 15 minutes before you're going to shower, because then it's going to be easiest just to rinse it all out real well, and then you can go ahead and wash your hair as normal after that. I also want to say it's not something I recommend doing too often, maybe once a month, once a week tops. Same thing for using it as a clay mask. Bentonite clay, because it's got such a strong drawing power to it, it can be a little harsh sometimes on the skin. Now for me, I can use it once and it's great, but if I use it 3 days in a row on my skin, I notice it'll turn my face red. So you just got to take care with it, but it really is excellent for drawing out the impurities in the skin and the hair, and which is one of the reasons why I recommend it. So I'm squeezing this little clip in here because I forgot to mention this. So you're probably wondering what this jar is. What I have in here are just little bits of soap chips from all of my homemade soaps, you know, when we're using them in the shower and they get down to that little bit. So I just throw the soap chips into a jar of water and just let them sit, and they will soften and break down and turn into a liquid soap, a lot of times just by itself. But even then, once they soften up really well and I get the jar full, then I can just process it in the blender or with a stick blender, and then turn this into my shampoo or a liquid hand soap. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this, is from now on when I go to make my shampoo, instead of cutting up a bar of soap like this, I'm just going to be using the soap chips and water I already have sitting and softening. So that's how I'm going to do my shampoo this time. All right, well, that's it for my video on hair care for this year at least. Hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check out the links down below, and also please share with us down below what are your favorite natural things that you like to use in your hair care regimen. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.